Oops, you saw my face for a second, didn't you? I am starting step 1 of the Codependence Guide to the 12 Steps by Melody Beattie. This is page 6 in the red book, and I'm only going to read for a few minutes, and then we'll read more tomorrow. I don't really feel like showing my face, so I'm not going to. This isn't about me. It's about the principles. So I'm just sharing the principles. Surrender happens of its own accord. It just dawns on me. Sorry, let me write that again. Surrender happens of its own accord. It just dawns on me. Then peace of mind settles in and my life starts to get more manageable. That's a quote by Bob T. Step 1. We admit we were powerless over others, that our lives had become unmanageable. That's the step 1 of CODA. The first time I heard this step, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. It felt dark, scary, and untrue. Powerless over others? My life unmanageable? I thought I was in complete control of myself and others. I thought there was no circumstance too overwhelming, no feeling so great that I couldn't handle it by sheer force of willpower. I thought being in control was expected of me. It was my job. That's how I got through life. And I thought my life looked so much more manageable than the lives of those around me until I started looking within. That's when I found the undercurrent of fear, anger, pain, loneliness, emptiness, and unmet needs. They had controlled me most of my life. That's when I took my eyes off the other person long enough to take a look at the state of affairs in my life. That's when I began to find a life and come alive. I didn't know about the power and powerlessness, said Mary, talking about the first step. Being a victim and being in control was how I was in power. If I was powerless, then someone else was in control. Now we are learning a better way to own our power than being victims and being controlling. It begins by admitting and accepting the truth about ourselves and our relationships. We are powerless over others. When we try to exert power where we have none, our lives at some level may become unmanageable. Let's take a look at some ways unmanageability can present itself in our lives, and where our ideas about controlling others or allowing them to control us begin. My story. I can still remember the scene vividly. Even though it happened more than a decade ago, someone I cared about a lot was drinking. He was an alcoholic, and he wouldn't stop. I had done everything I could to make him stop. Nothing worked. Nothing. Neither was I able to stop my efforts to control his drinking. After yet another round of promises, forgiveness, then broken promises, I settled on the ultimate plan to make him stop drinking. I would show him how it felt to love someone who was using chemicals. I would make it look like I had returned to drug usage. That would get his attention. That would show him how much I hurt. Then he would stop. Carefully, I set the stage. Although I had been clean of drugs for years, I laid out the paraphernalia of a user: a small packet with white powder in it, I used sugar, a spoon, burnt on one side, a piece of cotton in the spoon. Then I lay down on the couch to make it look like I was under the influence of narcotics. A short time later, the person who was the focus at that time of my control efforts entered the room. He looked around, saw the spoon, saw me, and started to react. I jumped off the couch and started lecturing. See, I screamed. See how it feels to love someone and see them using chemicals? See how much it hurts? See what you've been doing to me all these years? His reaction was not nearly as important as my neighbor's reaction later that evening. What are you what you are doing is really crazy, she says, and you need to go to Al-Anon. It took me months to learn the truth. I didn't need to prove to the alcoholic how much I hurt. I needed to become aware of how much pain I was in. I needed to take care of myself. That's only one of many incidences that shows the lengths I went to control people. I was so good at seeing the behaviors, especially the out of control behaviors of another, yet I couldn't see unmanageability in my own life. I couldn't see myself. I was trapped, locked into the victim role. People didn't just do things, they did things to me. No matter what happened, each event felt like a pointed attempt to do me in. My ability to separate myself from others, my issues, my business, my affairs, and my responsibilities from the issues, business affairs, and responsibilities of others was non-existent. I blended into the rest of the world like an amoeba, Amoeba, amoeba. I don't know what that is. I'm sorry. If someone needed something, I considered that need my personal and private responsibility, even if I was just guessing about what he or she needed. If someone had a feeling, it was my responsibility to work through it for him or her. If someone had a problem, it was mine to solve. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't have a life of my own. I had a backlog of feelings from childhood, and chances were great that whatever I was reacting to today was probably a pattern reaction from childhood. 2 weeks later, I got married. I raced home from work, flung open the closet doors, and checked to see if my husband's clothes were still in the closet. I was certain I was going to be abandoned, left. I felt totally unlovable, and I didn't have the foggiest idea what it meant to own my power. The base I operated from was fear. Coupled with low self esteem, I spent most of my time reacting to other people, trying to control them, allowing them to control me, and feeling confused by it all. I thought I was doing everything right. Aren't people supposed to be perfect? Aren't people supposed to be stoic? Shouldn't we keep pushing forward no matter how much it hurts? Isn't it good to give until it hurts, then keep giving until we've doubled over in pain? And how we can allow others to go about their life course? Isn't it our job to stop them, set them straight? Isn't that the right way, the good way, the Christian way, the codependent way? As many others have said about themselves, I wasn't me. I was whoever people wanted me to be. And I felt quite victimized and used up by it all. After years of practice, hard line codependency, the unmanageability in my life was overwhelming. Some of my codependency I didn't understand until well into recovery. When I began recovery, I was more than $50,000 in debt. As a result of the unmanageability in my financial affairs, no amount was too great to be borrowed if it would help someone else. No amount was too great to be borrowed if it would help someone else. My spirituality had been taxed to the limit. How many times had I prayed for God to change other people? How often had God refused? I thought God had abandoned me. I didn't know that had abandoned myself. I didn't know that now I was an adult, people couldn't abandon me. All they can do was leave. In some instances, I may have been better off if they had. My relationships with my children were chaotic. It's hard to be an effective parent when you're bound up in pain, denial, and repressed feelings and are regularly wishing for death. My relationships with friends were strained. I had little to offer friends except my perpetual complaints about the misery in my life. Most of my friendships centered around shared stories of victimization, intercepted with Rabelaisian humor to make it bearable. I don't know what that word is either. I'm sorry. Rabelaisin. Guess who used me today? I had no feelings that I was aware of. I had no needs that I was aware of. I prided myself on my ability to endure needless suffering, deprive myself, and go without. My health was failing. I spent years seeking medical treatments for nonspecific viruses. I had a hysterectomy. I had viral meningitis. I had gastritis. My back hurt. My head ached. Arthritis was beginning to set in, and I was only 32 years old. Codependency is a powerful force. So is denial and the ability to ignore what is before our eyes. What's there has the power to hurt, especially when we feel helpless, vulnerable, frightened, and ashamed by it all. All right, so that was the first part of step 1. The next part we'll read next time is Stanley's story on page 10. And it looks like step 1 is not that long, I don't think. Let's just double check here. Maybe it is. Yeah, it is quite long. So from page 10 until page 29. So this is going to take a while, and that's okay. But I want these videos to be short, and I want to sit with what I read tonight. And what I basically read tonight was coming to terms with the acceptance that we cannot control others, and we don't have to allow others to control us. We don't have to live in victim or control mode. We can take back our power, and we can surrender the power over others. We have no control over others. We are powerless over others. We are not responsible for others. All right. I'm just reading these things and reminding myself what I thought I already knew, but I think a refresher course is always healthy. All right. Thanks so much for listening, and catch you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.